Hello, my name is Jennifer Walker Ross, and this is my presentation on school and technology law issues. The case that we covered for this particular presentation is Jackson versus McCurry. In Jackson versus McCurry, a young lady was accused of bullying another young lady over her failure to make the volleyball team. The young lady who was allegedly being bullied reported the incident to an administrator. The administrator, after interviewing two witnesses, took the matter to the assistant principal, and the assistant principal took it to the principal. They called the young lady, Miss Jackson, into the office and told her to unlock her phone and let them search it. What they were looking for was evidence that she had been texting the two witnesses or others about this young lady. Upon her unlocking the phone, they did not find any evidence that she had been texting anything inappropriate about the young lady. They returned her phone to her, but the young lady, Miss Jackson, was deeply disturbed. She went home and talked to her father, told her father, along with her mother, about the incident that happened at school. This in turn set off a series of events that ended up being the case that is Jackson et al. Versus McCurry. The father started to call and send other forms of communications to the school. He was irate. He was upset. They saw him as a threat. They reported this issue to the superintendent, McCurry. He, in turn, banned Mr. Jackson, the father, from school grounds and any extracurricular activities concerning the school when students were present. But he put in a stipulation because Miss Jackson, the daughter, was still playing volleyball. Mr. Jackson could attend those volleyball tournaments. On one such occasion, he attempted or was attending a volleyball game where it was senior night and the seniors were going to be honored, one of those being his daughter, Miss Jackson. When the vice principal and the administrator saw him there, some communication went back and forth between them and the principal, who was not there, and the SRO officer at the school. It resulted in Mr. Jackson being removed from the school, according to him forcibly, and according to the SRO officer not, from the premises and not being able to completely attend the game. He did state that he was given permission to be able to attend the game, but due to a breakdown in communication, meaning that the principal was out of town, had the correspondence between the superintendent and Mr. Jackson on her desk, did not convey this information to the vice principal or the administrator. They did not know that he was allowed to be on campus for that game. Mr. Jackson pushed. He spoke to some coaches. They felt threatened by the conversation. They reviewed video of that conversation. He talked to the superintendent himself, Mr. McCurry. He wanted to be able to be heard at a board meeting, to which Mr. McCurry did not grant him the ability to be able to be heard at the board meeting. When it went to court, the court sided with the school district and Mr. McCurry that he had blanket immunity and was acting within his duties and roles as a supervisor. The Jackson family appealed, and at the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, those judges also sided with the district. They gave a lot of reasons to why they did not feel that the First Amendment rights of Miss Jackson and the Fourth Amendment rights of Mr. Jackson had not been violated. Each person was acting within their capacity or role that they played in the educational setting. Nobody acted with malice. Nobody was trying to exacerbate the situation. They were merely trying to keep the students safe, to investigate claims, and to execute what was given to them by their superiors. With that being said, we do have policies in place that guard or safeguard against different things dealing with cell phones. This was a cell phone that this young lady had. We were talking about text messages that she was sending, but it could have possibly been bullying. Thankfully, South Carolina has adopted a no cell phone during school hours policy. In that policy, it details that between the hours of 8 o'clock and 3 o'clock, students are not to have cell phones out. They are to be off and away. It's not a ban that says that they can't have cell phones at all, but it is merely just a temporary stay so that they can concentrate on the educational content that's being given to them throughout the day. I have an infographic here that we can talk about. We've talked about the case law, Jackson et al. Versus McCurry. Okay, we've talked about the policies that the districts in the school have that are, of course, loosely based on the technology laws that they have. Just dealing with the use of technology, how it is implemented into um, curriculum. We have the individual policies, such as the policy for the district that talks about how it can and cannot be used, the cell phone restrictions that I talked about already. And there are some disciplinary actions that happen if you are caught with a cell phone. Knowing what the procedure is for that is important. And so if you are caught with a cell phone on the first offense, you are asked to hand over the cell phone. The cell phone is taken to the main office where it remains until you are going home, whether by car, walking, or on the bus. On the second offense, the phone is not to be returned to you. A parent must come within certain hours, if 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. in the morning or 2:30 to 3:30 in the afternoon. They have to conference with an administrator. They are able to take the phone into their possession and go back home. But if you get to a third or a fourth offense, you're looking at in school or out of school suspension. And that is more about the repeated offense of not following the rules and procedures that have the expectations that have been laid out to you, and it's warranting consequences because you are not adhering to those policies. Three things that we need to keep in mind as we are making sure that all staff and any other educational educators are familiar with to ensure that we are enacting the policies correctly. Make sure you are familiar with the policies. We need to make sure that we are completely knowledgeable about the procedures and policies, the district level policies, and what that says, and how that has informed our school level policies. Okay, we need to discuss these policies and procedures and consequences with students and parents. We can discuss it with students, and that's great, but also the parents need to be made aware as well. We don't want a situation where we've taken a phone from a student and then we call the parent and they're surprised or they're not understanding why this is. Fortunately, when the policy was enacted for cell phones to be up and away, there was a huge rollout over time to try to get parents, even the teachers, the staff, the districts, all of them, all of those different stakeholders, to get them acclimated to what was coming. There were phases that was given so that people could get used to not having the cell phone around and putting the cell phone up and away and concentrating solely on instruction. And we need to emphasize ethical practices in decision making because a lot of times our students are making these decisions, but they're not thinking of the ramifications that can follow them. And outside of just the consequences that are issued by the school, there's loss of friends and isolation. We want to make sure that our students are aware of what they're doing and how it's going to affect them in the future. In closing, we have some policies and procedures that do surround cell phone use. And for Ms. Jackson, she was found not to have done anything that would have warranted her to suffer further consequences. But it was a reasonable search to make sure she was not violating any sort of policies. Bullying is a serious offense, and we want to make sure that we take those claims seriously. But we also want to make sure that we're not overstepping. Okay, so we have to be very careful that we are following the law. We're following the district policies. We're following the procedures that we have in place. Again, I'm Jennifer Walker Ross, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this video. If there is anything that you would like to research or look more into, here are the references that are associated with the infographic. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.